The year is 2011 and Sonic just turned 20. And Sega had just got done giving us Sonic Colors the year before, which is already a fantastic Sonic game. But this was 2011. This was Sonic's 20th anniversary, his birthday. There needed to be a landmark title for this monumental year. Perhaps a game that could not only be that landmark title for that anniversary, but to somehow incorporate that massive milestone and celebration into the game itself. Enter Sonic Generations, the very manifestation of the celebration of Sonic the Hedgehog and the huge list of games in his wake, and the legacy he left on the video game industry. Remember when we still got anniversaries on time? They got things right for the 10th, 15th, and 20th anniversary, but for the 25th and 30th, it was pretty much a bust. Okay, so they still did manage to technically make it for the 30th by giving us a pretty random remaster of Sonic Colors, but no new game. Maybe one day they'll get back on track. Come to think of it, with Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces being released on Sonic's 26th birthday instead of his 25th, mirrors the lackluster 30th anniversary from last year, because we are currently in Sonic's 31st year of existence, and we are once again getting two games, Sonic Origins and Sonic Frontiers, one being a summer release and one for the holiday season. Talk about history repeating itself. Well, thankfully we actually got a game for the 30th year, unlike 2016. Well, bad memories and current complications aside, Sonic Generations turned out to be a great game, and a pretty fitting way to celebrate Sonic's big milestone. So Sonic Team did something with Sonic Generations that was pretty unthinkable. They actually split Sonic into two, his classic form from the Genesis days, simply referred to as Classic Sonic, and his modern design from Adventure onward, fittingly referred to as Modern Sonic. When has anything like this ever been done in a franchise? I always had my suspicions that this was in response to the nagging in the fan base that claimed that Sonic hadn't had a good game since his Genesis days. Yes, there is actually people out there who say this. But you also had the fans of the franchise who still wanted Sonic to continue in his current direction of being a 3D driven game. But yeah, there was a lot of buzz around this time, especially around the Sonic 06 and Unleashed period, suggesting that Sonic needed to return to 2D. I always hated this argument, especially since Unleashed is such a good game, and I really disagreed with this sentiment wholeheartedly, and I think my reviews on these games speak for themselves. Now, 06, well, we will need to touch on that game at a later time. I'm long overdue for a retread through that complicated game, but anyway, this was the 20th anniversary, and this was a good time, if any, to pull the trigger on the nostalgia fans were begging for by having Generations be about the two styles of gameplay, and to celebrate the timeline of mainline Sonic games, as Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic will take turns racing through zones ranging from Sonic 1 through Sonic Colors. Yeah, even though Colors was only released 1 year prior, the game was still represented. So let's get into the story, and oh boy, if there's one thing about this game that I'm not thrilled about, is this game's story. I mean, this is as bare bones as it gets. Now, in concept, this should be one of the most epic Sonic tales ever told, but instead, this is what we get. Sonic's friends are throwing him a birthday party, which is actually pretty awesome. This is what I was referring to before. Sonic's anniversary is actually written into the game as part of the story. It's really quite a minor point, but I thought it was a really nice touch to really put the anniversary and celebration tone and purpose of the game into focus. So anyway, a shadowy abomination shows up and sucks all of Sonic's friends into portals, and Sonic falls unconscious. So the Time Eater causes a rift in time, and as a result, Classic Sonic and modern Sonic are transported to a weird and ominous place known simply as white space that is devoid of color and features a lineup of different locations, and Sonic's friends are all frozen in time and must be rescued. I really like how before we even see the first cutscene with the party, we are just dropped into Green Hill Zone as Classic Sonic. Before facing off against the first boss, the Death Egg robot, the two Sonics finally come face to face. The way the story and the interactions between the characters is extremely weird to say the least. Classic Sonic is a mute, and we find out that Classic Tails is along for the ride, but he speaks. I sort of see where they're going with this because Sonic didn't talk in the Genesis games, but if that's the case, why does Tails speak if he didn't either? Plus, this game is actually rather light on dialogue, and it's almost as if these characters don't have a lot to say about their current predicament, despite how bizarre it truly is. Even when you rescue your other friends, they're basically a one-and-done voice acting wise until the final boss fight, aside from the characters popping up in to say a sentence or two during certain mission objectives, which we'll get to in a bit. Like, this is a game that features Knuckles for the first time since Sonic 06, and he's as minuscule of a character as you can get, despite how big of a role he played in some of the most popular Sonic games of all time. Also, this is the first game with Amy's new voice actor, and dear lord, I do not like this voice for Amy.
Thank you, Sonic. Wow, you look younger every day.
Cindy Robinson is, with all due respect to the voice actor, just not my kind of Amy. Especially after Lisa Ortiz knocked it out of the park with her phenomenal interpretation of Amy.
Tell me what's happened to him. Please, tell me everything you know.
I've always been a fan of the 4Kids era of voice actors and never understood how so many people actually prefer the Adventure series voice actors. Like, there's people out there who seriously think Dan Green isn't the best Knuckles by far. But I am a massive Roger Craig Smith and Colleen O'Shaughnessy fan, and Colleen is definitely the best Tails. As far as Sonic, it's either Roger or Jason Griffith. That's still up in the air. I really like them both. But seriously, everyone else, their voices have a massive downgrade. Cream, Rouge, and Knuckles all take a backseat to their 4Kids counterparts. But as I said, it's not like most of them get to say a lot anyway. So now on to the gameplay. And where the story lacks, the gameplay is the exact opposite. It is spectacular. There are 9 zones in total, each with 2 acts. In Act 1, you control Classic Sonic in solely 2D levels. And in Act 2, you'll step into the sneakers of modern Sonic in hybrid 2D, 3D stages, much like in Sonic Colors and Sonic Unleashed. Classic Sonic is definitely not the Sonic of the Genesis days. You'll notice this most clearly when you're rolling on inclines. You just don't get the same level of momentum that you did back in those Genesis games. But the Spin Dash, on the other hand, has received a major upgrade. This thing is an absolute blast to use, as you can clear so much ground in such little time, especially when blasting off of a ledge or shooting up an incline. This thing has been turned up to 11 to say the least from the Classic series. It's the perfect complement to Sonic's moveset. Modern Sonic is still rocking his homing attack and his boosting mechanic like in Unleashed, as well as the stomp and slide. I still will say I think modern Sonic did look a tad bit better in Unleashed. Not by much, but I still think the model looked just a little sharper. The stages were determined by both asking the fans on Twitter and polling fellow Sega employees, and for the most part, it is a decent collection of stages. Would I have picked different ones? Yes, I would in most cases, but the stages showcased are all pretty well done, and do well to incorporate the different styles of modern and classic Sonic. Add to that the separate missions that are incorporated, which act as a means of progression so you can obtain keys needed for the boss rooms, and you can choose to go after all of them to obtain unlockable artwork and music. You can play any of these tracks in any stage you wish for some added variety and flair. Some of these remixes are pure fire, like the awesome Stardust Speedway ones. Even the City Escape remixes for both Act 1 and Act 2 are just simply phenomenal. Now, there are some unique challenges, some of which feature the supporting cast of characters, like summoning characters like Knuckles, Espio, and Tails to help complete these missions, and races against your doppelganger, which is a mission that exists in every single one of the zones. One for classic Sonic and one for modern Sonic. Not the most creative, with these races being repeated 18 fucking times, but think of it as a souped up time attack mode. Some of these are pretty creative and challenging. The one where you play a sort of volleyball style game with Vector's musical notes is definitely tough to keep up with as the speed increases. It's cool to see Sonic Team giving almost all of Sonic's cast of characters something to do in this game. I really like the callback here from Sonic Advance 3 for one of the chemical plant zone missions as Modern Sonic, when you use Amy's Pico Pico hammer to launch Sonic into the air, reminding me of their tag function in that game. Also, getting help from Knuckles to dig for hidden metals, being a throwback to his treasure hunting escapades from the Adventure series. Interestingly enough, there's always one mission where a character will be your opponent and another in which they're your ally. Guys, don't you think when the sake of the multiverse is on the line, we probably shouldn't be competing in races against each other? But despite the inexplicable nature of it, they're still fun, and that's truly what matters in the end. I like this obvious tribute to Sonic Advance 3 where you race against Cream to see who can collect the most Chow first, and this is one of the Speed Highway challenges, but the stage's assets have been rearranged to more closely resemble Route 99 from Sonic Advance 3, and this is what I really like about these challenges, how they remix the level layouts. This snowy rendition of Planet Wisp is a personal favorite. It just looks so damn beautiful. The one thing I have to say is I wish Tails and even Knuckles could have been used more, considering how major of characters they are. And while Tails is in most of the cutscenes, Knuckles is not. He's an afterthought, and just fodder for the Time Eater to freeze in time, and he's not even featured in a rival battle in which you battle an old foe to obtain a Chaos Emerald. You'll do battle against Metal Sonic, Silver, and Shadow. A word on these rival battles. Each and every one of these fights is 10 times better than their originals. Metal Sonic puts up way more of a fight than he did in Sonic CD, and that's not saying a lot. Silver gets an epic boss fight, putting his 06 scuffle with the hideous camera to shame, and finding him in Crisis City and seeing all the shit he whips up with his telekinesis is just a sight to behold. And the fight against Shadow adds more nuance and spectacle to it, making it feel way faster paced than in Adventure 2. My only problem with them is why these guys got it in for you, with the exception of Metal Sonic, is beyond me. It's not even explained in the context of the story, but let's be honest, it's a celebration and Sonic Team just wanted Sonic to fight these guys again. It's the same thing like the missions. Why are these guys all of a sudden giving Sonic a problem when there's their very fate on the line? I mean, why not just say the Time Eater has them under mind control or something? Were they really that lazy to not even bother explaining why any of this is going on? Yeah, I'll answer that. They are. There's also 3 boss fights, and then the final battle against the Time Eater, the Death Egg Robot, Chaos, and the Egg Dragoon. The Death Egg Robot is far less of a nail-biter than in Sonic 2, with the weird hitboxes being absent, and instead we get a more interactive fight. I really like how you have to climb up his arm in order to hit him. The fight against Chaos adds in this nice little prelude as you fight your way toward Chaos by dodging his tentacle strikes along broken up roadway and going inside the destroyed building as you make your way to him. The Egg Dragoon adds in some phases and overall isn't the cakewalk it was in Sonic Unleashed, where you just trounced Eggman's ass as the Werehog in QT events. It's in these boss fights and rival battles that you'll obtain the Chaos Emeralds in a style that harkens back to the adventure games, since those games gave you the emeralds through natural game progression as well. Even if it isn't really in the context of the story, like why does Silver and Shadow have these emeralds? Beats me. I mean, it makes sense why Metal Sonic would have one, but none of it is explained. So I figured the best way to discuss this game any further, since there's not really that many twists and turns in the story, would be to give you guys a rundown of the zones that were selected for the game and explain what exactly Sonic Team did to these special handpicked zones and how well they were handled. Green Hill Zone. Yeah, I know everyone is sick of this one at this point, but how could you not celebrate 20 years of Sonic and leave out what's undoubtedly the most iconic Sonic stage of them all? And what were they really supposed to pick as a zone from Sonic 1 to represent it well other than this one? The wooden platforms are definitely a nod to the rendition we saw in Sonic Advance 3, plus what a joy it was to go through this zone as modern Sonic in a full 3D environment. The Sonic Adventure 2 bonus stage aside, I absolutely get a kick out of this huge ass chopper chasing modern Sonic along the rails, putting a spin on the iconic Sonic Adventure killer whale chase. Both acts have a good flow and the hazard level is rather low, letting you blast through the stages at full speed, especially as modern Sonic, without much to worry about. In Act 2, you probably will end up on this path during your first playthrough and notice the classic spiral runway in the background, but if you manage to maintain a slightly higher path during your next playthrough, you will find yourself on that very pathway. There's always something so satisfying about finding alternate paths and accessing things you missed the first time around. Chemical Plant Zone. What else would be a featured zone from Sonic 2? I mean, Emerald Hill would have been a bit monotonous if that were picked, and well, there really isn't a level that gets the amount of mentions as this one when bringing up Sonic 2. This is really the stage in Sonic 2 that let you see just how fast Sonic could go on those gigantic slopes. This incarnation of the famous zone holds true to the original concept with its multiple pathways and slopes and speed opportunities. But the water is certainly harder to avoid this time around. The environment looks especially amazing in Act 2 with modern Sonic as you see all the smog that is emanating from the smokestacks as you swing from crane hooks and dash along those historic metal slopes. I really love this zone, and trust me, it was considered as a favorite back when I did my top 10 Sonic levels of all time video, but the Mania incarnations just narrowly beat it. Upon replaying this now, I'm not so sure. Sky Sanctuary. Now this one, I gotta say, I was very confused by. It is iconic. Well, yeah, I guess it's from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the most iconic game in the series, but with 15 other 2-act zones to pick from in this series, why go with the only 1-act zone? Well, besides Hidden Palace, which is hardly a full level, it was quite frankly never a favorite of mine. I mean, it was a nice aerial aesthetic and everything, but I just feel like Angel Island, Hydro City, or hell, even Ice Cap would have been perfect here, even Flying Battery. You could have done Sandopolis and scared the shit out of people with even more terrifying ghosts when the lights went out. The possibilities were virtually endless. Well, instead, they went with this. And they take the spinning disc concept from Marble Garden Zone and use it here. Yeah, even fucking Marble Garden, which so many people hate but I personally love, would be better as a choice. How cool would it be to see the seismic earthquake fuckery caused by Eggman happen in 3D? I'm not sure why this place was picked. I mean, I don't know anyone who ever said this is their favorite zone. I mean, this zone is from the most popular and loved Sonic game, but I don't think the general fan base agrees that this is their favorite level from that game. Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments, because I don't think I am based on what I hear online. I hear Hydro City and Ice Cap quite a bit, which many wanted in Sonic Mania and want to see in a Mania 2. Plus, people love seeing Flying Battery and Lava Reef in Sonic Mania, so they're all favorites. But is Sky Sanctuary bad? No, it's quite well handled and built upon from the original, and perhaps that's why Sonic Team ended up choosing it. But was this selection of zones about what would make the best remakes, or the best representations of the games? Because I could have sworn it was the latter. Maybe the former? Perhaps a combination of the two? I think Classic Sonic gets the best deal here, as we can see this great model of the Death Egg throughout the stage in the background, and it's fun using the teleporter to move from platform to platform, just like in the original zone, but with added visual flair. Plus, it's really cool to actually control Classic Sonic sprawling around these pillars as the pathways that surround them collapse, which was part of a cutscene in Sonic 3 and Knuckles at the end of the stage before you boarded the Death Egg. And on the other hand, modern Sonic gets to go inside the buildings of the stage, which is interesting. I particularly like this winding pathway. It adds a whole new dimension to a classic stage, and that great set piece of the Death Egg is also visible toward the end of modern Sonic's act, as the two acts here both make the single act wonder of Sonic 3 and Knuckles feel a bit drab and empty in comparison. Sadly, no Mecha Sonic fight to be had though. So yeah, this was always an odd pick to me, but they handled it quite well. Speed Highway. I think this was a good pick from Sonic Adventure, and it's actually an improvement over the original. I don't know about you guys, but I love going inside the buildings. There's something just so satisfying about it. The city just feels more alive, even if all of them are abandoned. I mean, seriously, where are all the people? Hello? Anybody home? I guess not. Maybe I could make a creepy video about that. Where are all the people in Speed Highway and Sonic Adventure and Generations? Ooh. Okay, maybe not. But yeah, this is one where I'm really torn between the modern and classic acts, because they're both really fun and add a lot of cool gimmicks to the original concept. I mean, turning the run down the building from Sonic Adventure into a chase sequence with the patrol cars was just a simple but amazing way to give this classic scene an upgrade. And that's not the only classic chase getting a much appreciated and well done overhaul. This parking garage that you end up in as well is a cool little touch to boot. I really like how they handled this stage, and it's a great inclusion all around. City Escape. Well, if you watch my aforementioned top 10 favorites levels list, you would know that I simply adore these two acts, and once again, much like Speed Highway, Sonic Team expanded on a concept and finding ways to improve it. The remixes of the music are so good here for both acts, and these remix zones are just as good. Plus, I wouldn't even dare to suggest a better representation of Adventure 2 than this all too classic stage, and why would I? It's one of my absolute favorites, and in terms of Adventure 2, no other stage even comes close. Classic Sonic has the gun truck chasing him throughout the entire level, destroying the environment in its path, and Sonic will of course have to avoid becoming roadkill in the process, and I absolutely love the skateboard power-up. It's kind of shocking that we've seen Sonic snowboard but not skateboard, because it's something Sonic would have totally did. Modern Sonic stage is similar to the Adventure 2 incarnation, but with a prettier and more spacious environment, and I always really dug this park area with all these steps. It just looks like a cool place, and I know it's simple, but it's a nice little part of the environment I look forward to seeing every time I play through this act. When you reach the end of the stage, a souped up version of the gun truck rocking buzzsaws and rocket boosters will chase you, and not just through the streets, but on top of the buildings as well, making an already fantastic stage even better. Seaside Hill. Well, I gotta say, this is definitely better than Sonic Heroes due to a better control scheme by default, and just having more freedom with no team mechanics weighing you down. The modern Sonic stage is a really fun stage full of alternate paths, and I like how you can catch a glimpse of the turtles or catch a ride in the go-kart if your timing is right when you come to this three-way fork in the road. You can even find yourself underwater towards the end of the level unless you can avoid it, which was something Sonic Heroes had zero of, and some fans may have preferred they kept it the original way. Classic Sonic's act can be best described as a labyrinth zone of sorts, but it is possible to avoid most of the water if you're skilled enough to maintain the top path, but I find it pretty difficult, especially because if you miss certain jumps, especially the first one, it's a one and done, and you'll miss your chance to access it. This is very reminiscent to Aquatic Ruin Zone from Sonic 2, but I find it way easier to avoid the water there. This can be pretty tricky, but I really appreciate how they basically took the ruins of Seaside Hill and put you inside of them for almost the entire act, building on a new concept from the original stage. I suppose this is a good pick for a zone for Sonic Heroes. I never really could pick a favorite stage. I mean, I always loved the horror theme of Hang Castle, but I guess Seaside Hill was a good pick when you really think about it. But man, when you really do think about it, it is kind of crazy how memorable first stages usually are in Sonic games, and that's why there's 3 openers on this list along with Green Hill and City Escape. Crisis City. A controversial pick to say the least. 5 years had passed since the debacle of Sonic 06. A greatly exaggerated debacle, in my honest opinion, but a deeply flawed game without a doubt, and Crisis City's inclusion was certainly a bittersweet pill for fans to swallow. Picking a favorite stage from Sonic 06 is definitely a topic I never considered until making this video and touching on this topic, because I truthfully only played Sonic 06 one time through to completion. It's a pretty long game, but Crisis City was always memorable to me. It plays into the plot of Sonic 06 as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were transported to this apocalyptic future setting, and the aesthetics are almost certainly ominous and foreboding in this remake. Though this stage is taking place on the same hardware, the Generations incarnation in both acts is even more visually spectacular, with dilapidated buildings that actually fall apart, and classic Sonic can jump on floating debris such as a car and chunks of concrete that have been kicked up by the tornado that chased Sonic in the original stage back in 06. I love the troll with the signpost being pulled away from you by the strong winds just as you think the end has come. You'll also notice your time inside the stage in both acts will pretty much double from the previous stages. It's pretty long to say the very least, and I suppose that's faithful to the original because Sonic 06's stages were very long, but it's time well spent because these 2 acts are well designed, and this is a stage I particularly love to take classic Sonic through because there's simply nothing else like it in the classic series. Rooftop Run. I think they did a nice job of modifying some of the classic set pieces of this amazing stage from Sonic Unleashed, which is on my top 10 levels video. There's some really nice touches like running up the side of the clock tower instead of just running around the face of it as you dodge laser shooting badniks, then rail grinding back down the other side through a sea of hot air balloons in a dazzling visual feast. I do love blasting through more buildings than you did in the original, though, and I believe this is supposed to be Professor Pickle's office if I'm not mistaken. Classic Sonic will find himself platforming like in the 2D sections of the original Unleashed version, and I like how they really minimized the 2D sections of modern Sonic so they could really capitalize on this theme for classic Sonic, and I particularly like the journey down to the catacombs of the city, which appears to be a wine cellar of sorts with badniks pushing giant barrels that go rolling after you. As you exit these catacombs, you'll have a chance to get back at the badniks by shoving a giant barrel that will destroy them for a cute little touch. Definitely seems like something that cheeky little bastard Sonic would do. I really do like a lot of these inside portions. The idea of exploring uncharted territory in Sonic stages is really fascinating when you consider the possibilities that could be done with other Sonic stages. I will venture to say that I do prefer the original stage for some odd reason. I think it's just something about the sequences and the flow that makes that original stage just do it so much for me, but this is a great remake to say the least. Planet Wisp. Both of these acts kept me for long amounts of time during my first playthrough while capturing footage for this video. It had been quite some time since I went through these two acts, and they're definitely on the tougher side of things. Things can be a bit disorienting when getting to the construction area of Act 2 with modern Sonic due to the mixture of vertical and horizontal platforming, but when you get your bearings, you'll notice that you can easily cut your stay in half as I did. The opening moments of the stage start off in that lush grassy field, and you can clearly notice the graphical upgrade of the stage due to the superior hardware. Remember, Sonic Colors was only available on the Wii around this time, so this was the first time 360 and PS3 owners were getting an eyeful of the stage in action. Truly breathtaking scenery. Act 1 revolves mostly around the construction area, and you'll be using the Spikes Wisp to spin dash on gears to flip switches to open new pathways. Honestly, Act 1 is probably one of my least favorite stages in the game. Not a bad stage, but the constant gear riding is a little tiresome to say the least, and I'd rather be doing almost anything else in any of the other stages, to be quite honest. When it's all said and done, you'll make your way to the rightmost part of the hub world to find massive gears, each with an opening just big enough to slip in a Chaos Emerald, and once you put all 7 inside, you will open the gateway to a portal that will take you to the Time Eater, and surprise, surprise, Eggman is behind it all. But not just Eggman, but Eggman from the past as well. Both Eggmans have taken control of the Time Eater, having roboticized him. Yes, Eggman should be the focus of the plot because this is a nostalgic celebration of Sonic's history, but if that's the case, why do we not see modern Eggman until the end of the game when the Egg Dragoon shows up, which is the boss fight right before the Time Eater, and he doesn't even say anything prior to the fight. What happened here? Why was there no classic Eggman quips? Prior to this, we hear classic Eggman inside the Death Egg robot before he gets kidnapped by the Time Eater, who of course was actually modern Eggman. I mean, damn, what another missed opportunity to have a fully fleshed out story. What about the two Eggmans working together with the classic Sonics and Tails to help to defeat the Time Eater? And then do the reveal at the end. There were so many clever lines that Eggman voice actor Mike Pollock could have lent here, and we barely get any of it, and basically no banter between Sonic and Eggman until the Time Eater fight. Such a wasted opportunity here. Such a great game with a glaring story flaw, and I'm not sure why they got so lazy here. Well, anyway, On the topic of the Time Eater, I'm not sure why so many people seem to have a problem with this fight. Compared to Sonic Unleashed in colors, this is a fucking cakewalk. He takes a total of 4 hits to beat, with the last hit being a QTE. I think a lot of people don't realize that if you can make contact with any of the rings, you can hold down the boost button and it will cause the rings to come to you. It's not a great fight, if anything, and definitely a more underwhelming fight than the previous games. So that's my take on it anyway. So after it's all said and done and classic Sonic goes back to the past or his dimension, and who really knows? I mean, Sonic states that he only vaguely gets deja vu after being in Green Hill Zone, but Tails doesn't even remember the joint. And modern Sonic makes a comment about past Sonic only getting better in the future, like he's going to become modern Sonic with more abilities, and classic Eggman says, will he really become as crazy as modern Eggman when he's laughing his head off? They create a weird sort of paradox with what was already a minimalist story, and I don't know why it was so hard to convey a consistent concept here. I mean, everything was fine with Unleashed and they told that story excellently, so I'm not sure why they seem to have such a tough time here. I'll say it was time constraints, and it's almost as if the rough drafts of the script got mixed in with the final one and they couldn't decide how to handle these characters and their counterparts. Oh boy, yeah, this story annoys me quite a bit, but I love this game and the game itself is excellent. Seriously, the story is this game's only negative and I think it's easy to overlook. I'm just trying to give you guys an analysis of the story because it's something, as a big fan of the series, that I wanted to see prosper because I love these characters and I want to see these characters be the best they can be and fun stories that are satisfying, but its story truly is the last thing on the list, especially when the gameplay is this good. After beating the game, you'll finally, for the first time in a 3D Sonic game that isn't Sonic Colors, be able to go super whenever you want, with the exception of boss and rival fights. And honestly, it's kind of underwhelming. Super Sonic doesn't even have his air dash. He does hover, but yeah, it's basically just a skin of sorts at the end of the day. Weirdly enough, you have to equip it as an ability, just like you have to do with the shields in the game, and you can't equip anything else along with the supersonic transformation. Aren't having the emeralds enough? Why do I need to equip it as an ability in order to transform? But it really just is a minor gripe, and based off of everything I just said in this retrospective, I really can't go too hard on it. So there you go, guys. There's my retrospective of Sonic Generation. I really feel that this was an anniversary done right and a great way to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary. They seem to take a lot of care in this game, and it really shows. Aside from the half-baked, underdeveloped story, it truly is a great game. So if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you hated it, hit the dislike button. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. I want to thank all my subscribers for your continued support. Thanks to all my patrons for all your support as well. And I will see you next time.